Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for braving the elements to be here today, and it is my great honor to welcome you all to the final episode of The Hello Show. Hello, I love you, won't you tell me your name? Hello, I love you, let me jump in your game. Hello, I love you, won't you tell me your name? Hello, I love you, let me jump in your game.
Thank you. That was a very good intro this time, Inder. Thank you.
Thank you.
So you performed very well this time. Good afternoon to all of you. No, it's actually still quite early in the day. Still only 11 o'clock. Good morning, we say. Or as we say here, hello. Welcome to the Hello Show. Today we're going to talk about the future anatomy of meetings. We're going to talk about trends within the meeting segments. How do we actually meet in the future? What we will do? How will we perform? And what can we actually get better? My name is Stefan NIlsson, and I will be your host of today. But first up, I would like to welcome on my first guest of this show, which is Jens Lanvin. Welcome up on stage, Jens.
Thank you. I have my notes with me.
You have some notes as well. You're prepared. That's good.
Yes.
Do you need to prepare for the future meetings?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think so.
Is this a typical meeting that we're having, you and I, now? Is that a typical meeting for the future, you think?
Yeah, I think so.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so. This is, on the stage.
On the stage, everyone will be on stage.
So.
And
yeah,
will be
everyone will be on stage.
with cameras and everything.
Yeah, I think this is the perfect setting for a future meeting.
We've been talking, I mean, the meeting industry has been talking a lot about trends and forecasting and how, and been investigating and how will actually people meet in conferences. I mean, I remember when I was working in the industry and people were talking about video conferencing and saying that was going to be huge, but we don't actually see that very much, do we?
No.
Video conferencing.
No.
No. So what about, how can you forecast meeting trends? How can you do that?
You can't. but one thing that I did a huge study last year regarding the meetings, and one findings from that is we were all around the world talking to scientists, and we talked to ordinary people regarding meetings and etc. And one thing is pretty peculiar when it comes to meeting, that is that we are pretty good at having meetings with no framework. In the private life, we have a lot of meetings. We meet people. We get children,
You mean like one-on-one meetings?
Yeah, one-on-one meeting, one too many sometimes, one too many, and then go to one-to-one meeting and get a child. So we are pretty good at having meetings, We can arrange a dinner and etc. And then the interesting thing comes when it comes to work. Everything gets very complicated.
Why is that? Why is it easier to meet someone privately but not publicly? Why is that?
And I think that is one of the things that comes from the last 100 years. That efficiency has been so important. When you have a private meeting, the engagement in the meeting and how the feeling in the meeting is much more important. And so when we come to work, you have efficiency, you have agendas, you have the power. Someone in the room have more power than me, and etc.
There's a hierarchy.
The hierarchy there, so you have to control all these things, and that is very strange. And I think that is one of the big changes that will come. We will see more of the private meetings live in the working meeting.
We're not going to be seeing more of hierarchies, but more of a social network thing. Is that what you say?
Yeah, I think so. If you look upon the organizational structure within big companies today, we are moving from the last 100 years of efficiency and hierarchy and etc. and Weber and all these guys, bureaucracy, and then we go into a working mode where you see a lot of small organizations, individual companies, and try to work together, so that is one thing that will change meetings. And then you have a new generation coming in who have another total different perspective on meetings. I usually take myself as an example. I usually don't, but in this case I can do that because I'm born 1970, and as you know, you set your values and behaviors much in the first 15 years. So in my first 15 years, what happened there? Technology. Did we get a new tech in the world that was very global and very economical and easy to use? Yeah, we got the fax. Yeah, that was my first 15 years.
Machine, yeah.
Fax machine, political. Nothing happened in Sweden. We have the financial side. We didn't have any huge crisis between 1785 and cultural. We started to get some new immigrants coming to Sweden, but it was pretty much like.
But
this.
the fax machine changed the world.
The fax machine changed the world. So that was my 15 years. That was my life. This. And then if you compare that to if you were born 1985, and you do the same idea for the first 15 years there. Okay. Technology, internet, mobile phones, commercial in Sweden. We have 2 crises. We have changed the government 2 times. The school system has changed. So of course that generation has a different view on working. And that, I think, will be a huge driver for the change of the meeting, because we have this new generation. And the big challenge for the meeting industry will be because they will have clients, with 50% of the old generation and 50% of the young generation in the same meeting.
But not for very long, though.
Not for very long. You don't know, people getting older and older.
Well, people are working longer and longer.
Yeah,
exactly. You're changing the pension age, retiring age. So, yeah, I guess. But so you think that technology is a driver of change?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. If you look upon last 2,000 years, of course, technology. When we have got a new technology within the society, and that technology contains a couple of elements, like it's easy to use. It very efficiency makes it easier to connect around the world. We love that kind of technology. Wheel, fax machine, TV. Phone,
but within the next 15 years, then, what sort of the technological improvements or inventions do you think will arise?
Many.
Many, of course, many. Yes, but how many of them will be important, and how many of them will be actually important enough to change the way we meet, as with the internet has done?
Yeah, I listened to an American scientist the other week, and he said that the next 15 years will contain more tech things that will change the world than the last 15. But what it is, it's impossible to say.
Well, what will happen within a short time range then, like 5 years?
I would say, I think more of the what we see in the gaming industry will come into the meeting industry. If we talk about meetings today,
yes.
I would say more of play and game that will come into the meetings, because that generation that has been grown up with World of Warcraft is now coming into a more civilized life, so to speak. They have getting children, etc. So that will, I think, come into play. So we will have meetings within World of Warcraft. Probably.
Okay, so you will actually create an avatar that will meet another avatar. Is that what you think? Yeah. Okay.
Something like that.
But we've seen that. But does that really work, or is it so that? I mean, is it because that the adoption is quite slow? I mean, we've seen that. What was it called? The Second Life.
Yeah.
That was sort of for grown-ups and just for playing around and gaming industry. But that really never boomed, really.
No. Because that was aimed at a generation that was not grown up within the digital world, so they have to re-socialize. For me, it's very complicated to have a meeting in World of Warcraft.
So what are the big challenges of the meeting industry today, then?
I think it is to combine this. You have an older generation that would probably still like, with a traditional setup of a meeting, and then you have a younger generation coming in, and the meeting industry have to, produce meetings for 2 different target groups at the same time. That is, I think, one of the challenging. And the other thing regarding technology and meetings, I would say, is that they utilize technology too early in the physical meeting. That was one of the findings. We put in technology in meetings that people don't know how to use. And the social barriers to go to such meetings are, we can feel outside, and should I press a button like this? I have a perfect example from yesterday in the Swedish government. Not the government, but riksdagen.
The House of Parliament.
Yeah, House of Parliament, where there was a miss in one of the votes.
Okay.
Because the technology didn't work. They didn't know where to push the buttons in the right order. And that you don't want to see in that situation.
No, but not.
So that is one of the problems, challenging, I would say. Right technology to the right people.
So we might have some issues with the Eurovision Song Contest elections as well. Do you think that the choosing of the right song?
Yeah, that's a huge problem.
That's going to be a huge problem. Because social interaction is also very important for meetings as well.
Yeah,
so do you think that we will change the way? I mean, we tend to be focused on efficiency when we have meetings today. We need to have an efficient meeting. It should be only 1 hour, not longer. We should have an agenda. Is that going to change as well? The social behavior around meetings.
Yeah, one of the big changes is that for the last 100 years, efficiency has been, the core of the industrial world. We have learned how to measure and weigh everything. So and now, at the end of the day, everything was the same. So then, the people who got most engagement, got most engaged within the product, those were the winners. So now I would say the meeting goes to that also. It's pretty nice meetings overall, but to put engagement in the meeting, to move more, that's the key.
So if we would change our meetings next week, when we go back to the offices next week, and then we say that, and we're going to call for like a Monday meeting or a staff meeting or a project meeting, whatever. What is the one thing that we should actually try to implement of the future trends? That we should actually say that we are beforehand everyone else.
Yeah, I would say maybe use a little bit of the individualism that we have at home.
Meaning then that we should actually...
Meaning that when you have a dinner at home, Saturday night, you're going to have a dinner tomorrow.
I am.
Maybe invite 6 friends or something like that.
And
then you think about Göran, he doesn't like shrimps. So maybe I buy something else for him. And Gunilla doesn't like Göran, so we place them at the other end of the table. And Gunilla likes Göran. So maybe they can join together during the coffee because they have been drinking some champagne before. So you can have this. So you have this set up in your mind, and you treat everyone individual regarding what they like to do. And I think that take that with you to work next week.
So you meaning that I should place Göran quite far away from Gunilla on my staff meeting?
Yeah,
or close.
If you are a manager and you have a meeting next week, try to be a little bit, but during lunch or what's in the meeting regarding papers and pens and digital technology, be a little bit more. If you can be a little bit more individual and make everyone feel a little bit more comfortable on their own basis, that will be a good start, I think.
Okay. Thank you. Stay around. What about you, Indy?
Yeah.
Are you going to have some dinner plans for this weekend as well? Or are you going to have some meetings?
I have sort of a meeting. I have to do this same sort of thing tomorrow at Münchenbryggeriet, which is sort of a background meeting sort of thing.
Okay, but you are planning ahead for that sort of future as well.
That's all I'm thinking about right now.
That's good.
That's all. Actually, I was thinking about something else. When we were talking about technology in the next 20 years, lightsabers. We're all going to have lightsabers.
Yeah. That could be dangerous, though. But
it's going to be very dangerous. That's why it's going to change the world.
It's going to change
everybody
a lot of
has a lightsaber.
So from the fax machine to the lightsaber.
That's the new fax machine. The fax machine of the...
In fact, my book is going to be called From Fax Machine to Lightsaber.
Well done, Indy. Well done, Windy. I think we're going to welcome up on stage our next guest who actually have a solution of the future meeting. So welcome up on stage Herr Omar, Jörgen Dyssvold and Gun Engvall. Welcome up on stage. Welcome. So how's your day started?
Very good, actually. A bit snowy outside, but...
it's still snowy. It's still winter in Sweden.
It is.
Yeah. So you, Herr Omar, what is that?
It's a company.
Is that why you have that funny hat on?
Yeah, it's actually
you
a
are
face.
Herr Omar. Yeah.
No, yeah, in a way. Herr Omar, he's our boss. He's the name of our company, and he's formerly known as the assistant to Tor Sventon, a quite famous Swedish...
character,
yes. You can say. And he loves face, and I love it too, so I usually use it.
So, Herr Omar, what is your role in the future meetings? What are your plannings?
We think that the meetings today is too dull, so what we are working with is to make the meeting more fun and interesting, and we work a lot with finding new places to have the meetings, and also new ways to design the rooms where we have the meetings, and to implement the new technology and other things to make it fun and more interactive. So more of a two-way communication.
So you're changing, you're shifting from efficiency towards like content or socializing. Is that what you're saying?
Should I? Well, yeah, in a way, we think that if you should have a good meeting, an effective meeting, you have to start much earlier. You have to start with the planning before the meeting, then the meeting, and after the meeting. And to get this, to come to a meeting, to be prepared, you have to try to do all the dull things before you meet. And when you meet, you're going to be in an environmental that is more exciting, more amazing. You do all the stuff before that is boring. You connect, you share knowledge, and when you meet, you have more action. You do it more fast. So that's some kind of way to the place dropping.
Yeah. We talked also beforehand about that the number of meetings. We're having too many meetings, and you want to reduce that to like fewer but better meetings. Is that right? So no more like staff meetings on Mondays.
Well, if you need to, but when you're going to meet, when you travel for a meeting, it's going to be more effective, more interesting than before, we think. And that you can gain with coming to amazing places where you have all the technique in another way than you have it today.
So what is one thing that one should think of? What was your recommendation? What sort of location should one look for when one is looking for a meeting room, for instance?
I think one thing is that it's a nice place, but also that it's functional.
What is a nice place? How do you define nice?
I think a place or a room where you could be more creative, and it could be, for example, an old cave or a room in an old factory or something like that. Because what we work with a lot is to make everything mobile, so it's easy to bring all the things in and to make the setup of the meeting room with all the things needed in just some minutes, maybe half an hour. So then you're not locked to have the meetings in the old school meeting centers. You can have them in the interesting places. You can have it outside in the nature, for example.
But why is it important to have an interesting meeting place? Why is it important?
I think you will be more creative, and we think that if the meeting is more fun and more passion, you do a better work there. Because what we see is that most of the meeting rooms out there they are extremely boring, and the whole meeting market is much of a copy of how they did it in school, and we do the meetings the same way.
Why do you think that? Why do you think people are stuck on this school scenario?
I think it's tradition and to work out from a template. When you're planning the meeting for this year, you start with taking out the agenda and all the documentation from last year's meetings, and then you make much of a copy of the same thing, and then that is why it's going on, and we see the same type of meetings, because we think you have to reinvent the meeting.
Jens, as a trend forecaster, what do you think about the meeting room? Do you think that will change as well? I mean, we talked about the physiology of the actual meeting, but do you think the meeting room will change as well, as Herr Omar is focusing on?
I would say so. Maybe not the exactly room, but you can make maybe some benchmark with the trade industry, for instance, like you take the malls.
You take the malls, shopping malls.
And for one generation, those are public spaces. And for one generation, they are not. So you have the same place, but you have a different view of them. But because we like to meet physically and show off, we like to meet. And I think that will be like the stage and the scenario like that. And you can see that within the retail industry, because take the most boring example in the world, but Apple. But the idea with the Apple store is, that you can meet there and share your views on things and be social and talk about how to utilize your products, and then you buy them online, because they never have anything there, but you can meet there and socialize and show off. And I had the Apple. I'm a part of the Apple community, and I think that we can see the same thing with locations within. I think the meeting industry. For instance, if you could to take that into a meeting, let's say SJ in Sweden should have a new meeting.
The governmental railways.
The government railways in Sweden should have a new meeting, and they are pretty hard pushed today regarding timetables and everything. But to be open and everything, they should have it in the central station, in the open maybe, with glass walls just, so they can meet the clients and everything. That kind of setting, I would say, is more inspirational, more open, more sharing, etc. You can see things like that in the future.
So what good examples have you seen then? You talked about the cave. Is the cave the utmost best example of a good meeting place for you, for creativity?
No, it
It's
depends.
like Batman and the lightsabers that India is so keen on. Yeah.
It depends on what kind of meetings you should have.
Where should the governmental railway organization have their meeting?
I think the meeting in the main hall of the central station is a good idea, because what we think is with all this new technology and possibilities, it's easy to bring the meeting to the place instead of the other way around.
You talked, Gun, about the preparation of a meeting. So you talked about, also beforehand, you and I talked about the meeting starts when you actually check in your agenda that you actually have, your calendar, you have a meeting next Thursday. That's when it starts. How should one prepare for a creative meeting?
Well, you should connect to the other participants in the meeting, and you should share all your knowledge before you come to the meeting. We have all the tools already.
So what is the meeting for then? Because if you already interact beforehand, what's the meeting for?
That's what it should be for, to take action, to take decisions during the meeting, to be creative together. If you do all, I mean, for a normal meeting today, you decide the agenda when you're arriving.
Why do you need creativity if you're just there for the taking decisions?
Sorry.
Why do you need creativity? We talked about the creative room that encourages creativity, but that's not for decision. I mean, I see them as opposites. Creativity and decision making are opposites to me.
Yes, but if you skip the agenda and the presentation, you have time for both in a very effective meeting.
So you go to the cave, you are creative, and then you take decision in the same place. Okay.
Yeah.
And then again, sorry, I interrupt you, but going back to the preparation then, what do I do for preparation? Before I go to the cave.
Before you go to the cave.
It's a good example. I didn't say that.
For example, if we're going to talk about sofas.
Yeah.
Next meeting in the cave would be about sofas. We would take some decisions about new sofas, and we have to be creative as well. Then you check with all the other participants. What are you doing with sofas? I'm only doing white sofas, and I only design for caves, and I mean, you connect with all the people before, so you know what the other people are, what they want to present, what their knowledge is before, and you share your knowledge to them.
You're sort of talking about a meeting of peers. They're all equals. There are no hierarchies. But if you work in a project, in a project group, for instance, there are a project manager, someone who's actually doing something, and the one taking notes. Everyone are not in that meeting to share their same idea, because it's a hierarchy of people doing that. Are they also sort of invited to the cave, or are they supposed to have some other meetings?
No, they are invited to the cave as well, if they want to be there, of course. But if you do all that before the meeting, you present the project manager. You will share the agenda. Who's going to decide the agenda? Is it a project manager? Maybe not. Maybe it's you and you who will decide the agenda before the meeting, so you're prepared when you're coming and take action and be creative.
I think we should slowly but surely rounding off our talk show, but let's share some memories. When was the last time you had a good meeting? And what made it a good meeting? That's giving you some time to think about the same question. So.
No, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. And you're on your own.
Off my own. But I think I always have pretty good meetings because I like them. So I'm more of you. I'm a meeting kind of guy.
You're a meeting junkie.
I'm a meeting junkie. So I'm pretty satisfied with most of my meetings because as long as I learn something. Because if I don't learn something, that is extremely boring. And I had a meeting like that yesterday, because I'm renovating my house, so I'm applying to make it larger. That was extremely bad English, but you know what I mean. So I have a meeting with that council. And that had the possibility of being a bad meeting, but it was a very nice meeting because I learned a lot regarding how and when and why. And I got to know, but, you know, I learned something.
And there were no fax machines there.
There were fax machines there, I can tell you.
There were fax machines there.
Yeah, I can tell you that. Yeah.
So next year they will have video conferencing, perhaps, next year.
Yeah.
So what are your good examples of meetings? Have you had any good meetings recently?
Yes, one that you could multitask in when people are not afraid that you use your iPad when you are talking. Maybe I need to check out some words that I don't understand. And when you can have your food during the meeting, it's more relaxed. It's different ages, but the older people are not afraid of the younger people multitasking. So you will meet in a modern way of having a meeting. That's a good meeting.
Multitasking and food.
Yeah.
Sounds
In the
interesting.
cave.
Yeah, in the cave, yeah.
Yeah.
What about you? Have you had any good meetings recently?
Yeah, I think I will hook on what Jen said earlier, the Saturday night dinner, to bring that kind of thinking and feeling into the meeting at work also. If we succeed in that, we will make a lot difference.
We tend to talk about good meeting as being private meetings, and also the shift from like the public meeting or office meeting towards a private meeting. Is that right? Because that's sort of what you hinted.
Yeah, as I said, the ingredients is a good private meeting.
Yeah.
Take that and put into the
Yeah.
public meeting, I would
Yeah.
say. It's, you know, the last 100 years was very much about, you know, 2, 4 people own, and the next 100 years will be, you know, with, by, and together. So if you would do that is, you know, the big difference.
Very good. That is a good idea there. Sharing and good values.
From owning to sharing.
From owning to sharing.
Yeah.
What about you, Indy? Have you had any good meetings this week?
I had a good social meeting yesterday.
Yeah?
Actually, I had an accidental good business meeting yesterday. It was not planned, but I had to be there. So,
Those tend to be nice as well, the accidental ones.
It was between the first part of the social meeting and the second part of the social meeting, so that was even better. So
Yeah.
yes. And there was drinks.
There were drinks.
Yeah.
Food, drinks, and iPads are apparently the key for a successful meeting.
Yep.
Seems like we have a fixed format now for this, for the
Drinks
future.
and iPads.
Well, I think we're going to round off, and thank you very much, Jens and Herr Omar, for joining us on this talk show. And with this, we don't say hello, but we say goodbye.
Goodbye. She's walking down the street, blind to every eye she meets. Do you hope to be the guy to make the queen of the angel side? Hello, I love you, won't you tell me your name? Hello, I love you, let me jump in your game. Hello, I love you, won't you tell me your name? Hello, I love you, let me jump in